let me ask you something. What did you do this morning, the moment you woke up? Did you reach for your phone? Did you stumble to the bathroom, brush your teeth, maybe make coffee, all without really thinking about it? Of course you did, because that's exactly what you do every single morning, without deciding to, without planning, without even being fully awake. Now here's the part that should make you stop and think. Scientists estimate that somewhere between 40 and 50% of everything you do today, the food you eat, the route you take to work, the way you react to stress, how you spend your evenings, none of it is a real decision. It's a habit. Half your life on autopilot. And here's what's wild. The brain actually prefers it that way. Running on habits uses far less mental energy. It's efficient. It's clever. But there's a problem, because some of those automatic behaviors are quietly destroying your health, your relationships, your career, and you don't even notice because you're not really thinking when they happen. But what if you could change that? What if someone handed you the actual blueprint, the scientific code, that explains exactly why habits form, why they're so hard to break, and most importantly, how to redesign them in your favor? That book exists. It's called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and what you're about to hear might just be the most practically useful thing you listen to all year. Let's get into it. Before we dive into the ideas, let's talk about the man behind the book, because understanding who Charles Duhigg is makes the book hit differently. Charles Duhigg is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who spent years working for the New York Times. He isn't a self-help guru with motivational catchphrases. He's a deeply serious investigative journalist, the kind of person who doesn't just want to tell you what to think, but wants to show you the actual science and real stories that prove it. He spent years interviewing neuroscientists, psychologists, behavioral economists, athletes, executives, and reformed addicts. He read thousands of research papers. He tracked down case studies in hospitals, corporate boardrooms, and community centers around the world. The question he kept coming back to was deceptively simple. Why do we do what we do, especially when we know we shouldn't? Why does the smoker reach for the cigarette even after promising themselves they'd quit? Why does the successful executive still bite their nails in meetings? Why do some people effortlessly build good habits while others try and fail over and over again? These aren't just personal questions. They're scientific ones. And Duhigg found the answers, not in motivational advice, but in brain research, corporate case studies, and the stories of real people who cracked the code. The Power of Habit was published in 2012. It became a global bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and fundamentally changed how millions of people understand human behavior. It's been used by Fortune 500 companies, Olympic athletes, rehabilitation clinics, and ordinary people who just want to stop hitting snooze every morning. Now it's your turn. The Power of Habit is built on one central insight, and once you understand it, you will never look at your behavior the same way again. That insight is this: habits aren't just behaviors. They are neurological patterns, loops encoded in the structure of your brain. And because they are patterns, they can be understood, interrupted, and redesigned. The book is divided into 3 main sections. The first explores the habits of individuals, how they form, what drives them, and how specific people have changed their lives by understanding them. The second section zooms out to look at habits within organizations, companies like Starbucks, Target, and Alcoa, and how those corporate habits shape outcomes on a massive scale. The third section examines social habits, how habits spread across communities, drive social movements, and even influence revolutions. But throughout all three sections, one framework keeps appearing. It's called the habit loop, and it is the beating heart of everything in this book. The habit loop: cue into routine into reward. Don't worry if that sounds abstract right now. By the end of this summary, that loop will feel as familiar as your own name, and you'll see it everywhere in your daily life. Let's go back to 1993. There's a man in a hospital in Massachusetts. His name is Eugene Pauly, and he is 51 years old. He's been admitted because of a rare brain virus called viral encephalitis, a dangerous infection that attacks the brain and, in Eugene's case, has destroyed a large portion of the region called the basal ganglia. The damage is catastrophic. Eugene cannot form new long-term memories. Show him a photo of his son's face, and 10 minutes later he'll have no recollection of ever seeing it. He can't tell you what he had for breakfast. He can't find his way back to his bedroom without help. And yet, here's the thing that made scientists stagger: Eugene could still do things. Every morning, he would walk out his front door, wander through his neighborhood for 30 minutes, and find his way home, despite having no conscious memory of the route. If you asked him to point to his house, he couldn't. But if you just let him walk, his feet somehow knew the way. He would open the correct kitchen cabinet for a snack without anyone telling him where the food was. He would sit in front of the television at his favorite time without checking a clock. Eugene's story revealed something extraordinary about the human brain. Even when the memory system was entirely destroyed, even when the person literally could not consciously remember anything, habits still ran. Something deeper, something more primitive, was in charge. That something is a small, ancient region deep inside the brain, the basal ganglia. It doesn't think. It doesn't reason. It doesn't plan. But it stores and runs patterns, sequences of behavior tied to specific triggers, so efficiently that the thinking brain barely needs to be involved at all. When scientists studied how habits form, not just in Eugene, but in hundreds of research subjects, they discovered that every habit follows the same neurological structure. 3 components. Every time. Without exception. Component 1. The CUE, a trigger that tells your brain to shift into automatic mode. Component 2. The routine, the behavior itself, physical, emotional, or mental. Component 3. The reward, something the brain finds satisfying, which teaches it this loop is worth remembering. A cue, a routine, a reward. Simple, elegant, and devastatingly powerful. Here's an everyday example. You're sitting at your desk. You feel a flicker of boredom. Maybe you just finished a task and your brain doesn't know what to do next. That boredom is the cue. Automatically, your hand reaches for your phone. That's the routine. You scroll through Instagram or check your messages. That's the reward, a small hit of stimulation and social connection. You didn't decide to do this. You didn't plan it. The loop ran itself because your brain had run that exact sequence hundreds of times before and learned to associate boredom with phone checking with that small dopamine reward. And here's the part that makes this really interesting and really scary. The cue and the reward become intertwined in the brain. Over time, the cue alone starts to trigger a craving for the reward. The brain begins to anticipate the reward the moment it senses the cue. Before you've even picked up your phone, your brain is already expecting, already wanting, that hit of stimulation. This is why habits feel so compulsive. This is why it's so hard to resist. The wanting isn't coming from your conscious mind. It's coming from deep inside the structure of your brain, from patterns encoded across hundreds of repetitions. Researchers call what the basal ganglia does chunking. Your brain takes a sequence of actions: put on trainers, open the front door, start running, turn left at the corner, maintain pace, return home, drink water, and over time compresses that entire sequence into a single automatic chunk. One cue triggers the whole thing. This chunking ability is a gift. It's why experienced drivers can have a full conversation while navigating complex traffic. It's why a concert pianist's fingers find the notes without her consciously directing each one. It's why surgeons can perform intricate procedures calmly even under pressure. The hands know what to do. But the same chunking that makes skills automatic can also make bad habits feel unstoppable. Every time you eat sugar when stressed, drink alcohol to decompress, or reach for your phone when anxious, you're carving that groove a little deeper. The good news, and this is what the whole book builds toward, is that the groove can be recut. Let me tell you about toothpaste. Believe it or not, one of the most important habit stories of the 20th century involves a man named Claude Hopkins, an advertising genius who lived in the early 1900s. In 1929, Hopkins took on a client that seemed impossibly dull: Pepsodent toothpaste. Dental hygiene at the time was not a common habit. Most Americans didn't brush their teeth regularly. Convincing people to do something they'd never done and saw no compelling reason to do seemed like a nearly impossible task. But Hopkins was brilliant. He studied the science of human motivation and designed a campaign built around one powerful idea. He pointed to a film of plaque on your teeth and called it the cloudy film. He created a craving. His advertisement said, "Run your tongue across your teeth. Feel that film? That's the cue. Pepsodent removes it. And when you use Pepsodent, feel that tingle? That cooling, minty sensation? That's the reward." That tingle wasn't actually doing anything medically significant. It was just an ingredient that created a sensation. But it was so satisfying, so immediate, that people came to expect it, to crave it, every time they brushed. Within a decade, Pepsodent was one of the best-selling products in the world, and toothbrushing had become a daily habit for millions of people. Not because the product was miraculous, but because it created a craving that powered the loop. This was Duhigg's discovery, and this is the missing piece that makes the habit loop complete. The reason habits become so automatic, so powerful, so hard to resist isn't just the cue or the routine. It's the craving the brain develops for the anticipated reward. Craving is the engine that makes the habit loop run. Without craving, habits are fragile. With craving, they become almost unstoppable. When you try to build a new habit and it isn't sticking, this is almost always the reason. You have a cue. You have a routine. But there's no genuine reward, and therefore no craving has developed. The brain has no incentive to remember the loop. The solution? Make the reward undeniable. Make it immediate. Make it something the brain genuinely wants, and then tie it to the cue so consistently that the brain starts to expect it. Cue, routine, reward, craving that connects them all. That's the full machinery. So now we come to the most practically important idea in the entire book. Duhigg calls it the golden rule of habit change, and once you understand it, you will see it operating everywhere from therapy clinics to NFL locker rooms to 12-step recovery programs. Here it is stated simply. You cannot extinguish a bad habit. You can only change it. Keep the cue, keep the reward, but insert a new routine. This is the single most powerful practical insight in the whole book. Let's break it down. The habit loop, cue, routine, reward, is encoded in the brain, specifically in the basal ganglia. And those pathways don't disappear. Even years after you've broken a habit, the neural pathway remains. That's why a recovered alcoholic who walks into a bar still feels the pull. That's why someone who quit smoking years ago can suddenly crave a cigarette at a work function. The cue, the environment, the emotion, the time of day, reactivates the dormant pathway. So trying to simply stop a habit, using willpower alone, white-knuckling through the craving, almost never works long-term. Because you're fighting against a wired neural pattern with nothing but conscious effort. And conscious effort is exhausting. The brain eventually wins. But what if instead of fighting the loop, you redirected it? Keep the same cue. Keep the same reward. Just replace the routine. Let's talk about football. Specifically, let's talk about Tony Dungy, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and a man who built his entire coaching philosophy around the science of habits. When Dungy arrived as head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1996, he inherited one of the worst teams in the NFL. Players with talent, players with physical gifts, but a team that overthought every play, hesitated at critical moments, and fell apart under pressure. Dungy believed the problem wasn't ability. It was decision-making. Under pressure, players were still consciously thinking, evaluating, second-guessing, deciding in real time. And in football, that fraction of a second delay can be the difference between a tackle and a touchdown. His solution was radical. Stop trying to make players think faster. Instead, train them so deeply in their assignments that every response became a habit. See the cue, the position of the opposing lineman, the movement of the quarterback, and the routine fires automatically. No thinking required. He drilled one defense, the Tampa 2, over and over again. Not hundreds of times, thousands of times, until the players didn't run it consciously. They ran it automatically, the way you brush your teeth. The moment they saw the play unfold, their bodies were already responding. The results were transformational. Dungy took the Buccaneers from perennial losers to consistent playoff contenders. He later won a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts. And his coaching philosophy influenced an entire generation of coaches and players. But here's what makes it directly relevant to you. Dungy wasn't just coaching football. He was engineering habit loops. Cue, the formation across the line. Routine, the practiced, automatic response. Reward, the satisfaction of execution, the thrill of victory. The same framework works in your life. Whatever habit you want to change or build, identify the cue, design the routine, lock in the reward. Repeat until it becomes automatic. Here's a question. If you wanted to change your life, genuinely, significantly, across multiple areas, where would you start? Most people try to change everything at once. New diet, new exercise routine, new morning routine, cut back on alcohol, spend more time with family, be more productive at work. All simultaneously. And most people fail. Because changing everything at once is overwhelming, and the brain cannot sustain that level of conscious effort. But Duhigg discovered something remarkable in the research. Some habits are different from others. Some habits, when you change them, set off a chain reaction that alters other patterns across your life. He calls these keystone habits. A keystone habit is a single habit that, by changing it, triggers a cascade of positive changes in other seemingly unrelated areas of life. One of the most dramatic examples in the book is the story of Paul O'Neill and the Aluminium Company of America, better known as Alcoa. In 1987, O'Neill was appointed CEO of Alcoa, which had been struggling with declining profits, poor morale, and a reputation for dangerous working conditions. When he showed up for his first investor presentation, the room was full of Wall Street analysts expecting the usual CEO playbook: cuts, restructuring, efficiency targets. Instead, O'Neill stood up and said, "And I want you to really hear this." He said that his number one priority, his singular focus, would not be profits. It would not be market share. It would be worker safety. He wanted to make Alcoa the safest company in America. The room fell silent. Some investors literally left immediately to sell their Alcoa shares. They thought he'd lost his mind. But O'Neill understood something they didn't. Safety, he believed, was a keystone habit. To improve safety, you have to change how every team communicates. You have to change how problems are reported. You have to rebuild trust between workers and managers. You have to create a culture where raising concerns isn't punished, where identifying errors isn't shameful, where every worker's voice matters. And as all those smaller habits changed, the communication patterns, the reporting structures, the culture of accountability, something extraordinary happened. Productivity rose. Quality improved. Costs fell. Morale soared. By the time O'Neill retired 13 years later, Alcoa's profits had multiplied by 5 times. The company's safety record was among the best on earth. And it all started with one keystone habit: worker safety. For individuals, researchers have found that exercise is probably the most powerful keystone habit available to most people. Not because of the physical benefits, though those are real, but because of what happens to other habits when exercise becomes consistent. Studies show that when people start exercising regularly, even just a few times per week, they start to eat better. Without being told to. Without any program. Their food choices naturally improve. They sleep better. They become more patient. They smoke less. They spend money more wisely. They report feeling more in control of their lives. Exercise creates a sense of agency and self-efficacy, a feeling that I am someone who makes good choices, and that identity ripples outward into every corner of life. Other keystone habits researchers have identified: keeping a daily food journal, making your bed every morning, planning your week in advance, and practicing mindfulness. Don't try to change everything. Find your keystone. Pull on that one thread. Here's something that will probably change how you think about willpower forever. Most of us think of willpower as a character trait, something you either have or you don't. Some people are disciplined and strong-willed. Others are weak and give in to temptation. You're born with a certain amount and that's what you've got. The research says that is wrong. Completely wrong. Willpower isn't a character trait. It's a muscle. And like every muscle, it can be trained, and it fatigues with use. This was established by a landmark series of experiments at Stanford University. Participants were asked to sit in a room where fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies had just come out of the oven. Half the participants were told they could eat the cookies. The other half were told not to eat them, to resist, and were given radishes instead. Both groups were then given difficult, unsolvable puzzles to work on. The people who had eaten the cookies, who hadn't used any willpower, worked on the puzzles for an average of 19 minutes before giving up. The people who had resisted the cookies, who who had burned through willpower just sitting in that room, gave up after only 8 minutes. Willpower is depleted by use. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every moment you spend doing something you don't want to do, it draws down from the same limited pool. And when the pool runs low, self-control collapses. This explains so much about human behavior. Why people make terrible financial decisions late at night. Why diets fail in the evening. Why people snap at their family after a hard day at work. It's not weakness. It's depletion. Willpower is a limited daily resource, but you can train it to become stronger and protect it with better systems. One of the most brilliant practical applications of willpower science in the book is the story of how Starbucks built willpower into their employee training. Starbucks discovered that their frontline employees, baristas dealing with hundreds of customers a day, including rude and angry ones, were failing not because they lacked skill, but because they ran out of willpower. By their third difficult customer encounter of the day, they'd snap, be dismissive, or fall apart emotionally. The solution Starbucks developed was elegant. They didn't ask employees to have more willpower. They helped them convert willpower-intensive situations into habit loops. They created what they called latte routines. When a customer becomes upset, the employee doesn't have to decide in the moment how to respond. That decision has already been made, practiced, and encoded as a habit. Listen to the customer. Acknowledge their complaint. Take action to solve it. Thank them. Explain what you did. By pre-deciding the response and drilling it until it became automatic, the employees no longer needed willpower in those moments. The habit ran, and Starbucks transformed customer service quality across thousands of locations. The lesson for your life: don't rely on willpower in high-stress moments. Pre-decide your responses. Create if-then plans. Encode your intended behavior as a habit before the crisis arrives. Here's a question that puzzled researchers for years. If habit change follows this scientific loop, cue, routine, reward, then why does it sometimes fail under pressure? Why do people relapse? Why does someone change their habits for months, then one terrible day happens and suddenly everything falls apart? The answer, Duhigg found, lies in one word: belief. When researchers studied Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the most successful habit change programs in history, they found something fascinating. The 12 steps, the meetings, the community, all of it created new habit loops, new routines to replace drinking. Cue, stress or the impulse to drink. New routine, call a sponsor, attend a meeting, work the steps. Reward, connection, peace, belonging. But the habit loops alone weren't enough to sustain long-term sobriety for many people. Something else was required. What researchers found was that the participants who maintained long-term sobriety, who stayed sober even through divorce, job loss, grief, illness, were the ones who believed that change was possible. Specifically, they had come to believe that they were capable of being different, that their identity could change, that they weren't just an alcoholic who was white-knuckling it. They were a recovering person building a new life. And where did that belief come from? Almost universally, community. From being surrounded by other people who had made the same change and were living proof that it was possible. Change occurs among other people. It is not a solitary act. This is a profound insight that goes beyond habit science into the deepest questions of human motivation. Techniques and systems matter, but they're not enough on their own. You have to believe, genuinely, viscerally believe, that the change you're attempting is possible. And for most people, That belief is born and sustained in community. Find your community. Build with people who are walking the same path. It's not weakness. It's the mechanism that makes change stick. Organizational habits. How companies are run by routines. So far we've been talking mostly about individual habits. What happens inside your brain, what drives your personal behavior. But Duhigg takes a fascinating turn in the middle section of the book and applies the same framework to organizations. And the implications are just as profound. Companies, he argues, are not run by strategies, mission statements, or org charts. They are run by habits, organizational routines that are so deeply embedded they operate without anyone consciously directing them. One of the most remarkable and slightly unsettling stories in the book involves the retail giant Target and a statistician named Andrew Pohl. Pohl was hired by Target's analytics team to answer a specific question: can we predict whether a female shopper is pregnant, and if so, when she's due? But because the retail industry knows that life transitions are the moments when people's habits are most malleable. When you move to a new city, your shopping habits reset. When you get married, your shopping habits reset. And when you have a baby, perhaps the biggest transition of all, you suddenly need to buy enormous quantities of new products. Whoever wins your loyalty in those first months of parenthood can potentially keep you as a customer for years. Pohl pored over the purchasing data of millions of customers and identified something extraordinary. Pregnancy creates measurable, predictable changes in purchasing behavior. In the second trimester, pregnant women start buying more unscented lotion. They buy calcium and magnesium supplements. They buy large bags of cotton wool. They buy specific combinations of products that, taken together, create a statistical signature that allows Target to predict pregnancy with remarkable accuracy and often before the woman has told her own family. This level of data analysis became controversial. There were cases where Target's habit of sending targeted baby product coupons revealed a pregnancy before the family was ready to announce it. But beyond the ethical questions it raised, the story illustrates something powerful. Habits, even the most personal, unconscious habits, leave data trails. And understanding those patterns creates enormous power. For businesses, the takeaway is that understanding customer habits isn't just marketing. It's fundamental to survival and growth. The companies that know what their customers habitually do, and when those habits are most open to change, hold an extraordinary competitive advantage. Social habits, how movements begin. The third section of The Power of Habit zooms out to the widest possible scale and asks, can habit science explain how entire social movements start? Can it explain why some causes spread and others die? Duhigg's answer is yes. And he uses one of the most iconic stories in American history to illustrate it. Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott. In December 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, to a white passenger. She was arrested, and within days, one of the most significant civil rights campaigns in American history had begun. But here's the thing, Rosa Parks was not the first person to refuse to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. Other black residents had done the same thing before her, and it hadn't sparked a movement. So why Rosa Parks? What was different? Duhigg's analysis, drawing on the sociological research of Harvard professor Doug McAdam, is that social movements have three components. Three components of a social movement. First, the movement begins because of the social habits of friendship. the tight bonds between close friends who feel a personal obligation to support each other. Rosa Parks had strong personal ties to key leaders across Montgomery's Black community. Her arrest activated those relationships immediately and personally. Second, it spreads through the habits of communities, the weaker ties of acquaintances and civic associations. The interconnected web of churches, social groups, professional associations, and neighborhood networks across Montgomery created channels through which the boycott's message spread rapidly. Third, it endures because leaders give participants new habits, ways of operating together that make the movement self-sustaining even when founding leaders aren't present. Martin Luther King and other organizers created routines, meeting structures, communication protocols, mutual support systems that kept thousands of participants aligned and motivated without needing to be individually directed. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted 381 days. It succeeded, and it helped launch the entire civil rights movement. The lesson? Whether you're building a startup, a community organization, a political campaign, or a family, the habits you establish around communication, decision-making, and mutual support will determine whether your effort sustains itself or collapses. Now your habit change playbook, a step-by-step guide. Okay, we've covered the science. We've told the stories. Now let's talk about you. How do you actually use all of this? How do you take these ideas out of this summary and into your real life, starting today? Here is a practical, step-by-step framework, drawn directly from Duhigg's research, for changing any habit. Step 1. Identify the habit you want to change. Start with one habit, not 3, not 5. Remember what we learned about Keystone habits? The right single habit can cascade into many changes. So choose carefully. What's the one habit that, if you changed it, would have the biggest positive ripple effect on your life? Step 2. Isolate the cue. Every habit has a cue. Your job is to find it. Duhigg suggests a simple exercise. The next 5 times you engage in the habit, write down answers to 5 questions. What time is it? Where am I? Who else is around? What just happened? What emotion am I feeling? After 5 occurrences, look for patterns. Almost certainly, one of those 5 factors will be consistent every time. That's your cue. Step 3. Identify the real reward. This is the part people most often get wrong. The reward is rarely the obvious surface thing. It's usually an underlying need: connection, stimulation, relief from boredom or stress, a sense of accomplishment, escape from pain. To find the real reward, experiment. When you feel the urge to engage in the habit, try a different routine and see if it satisfies the craving. If you usually eat a snack at 3 p.m., try a brief walk. Try calling a friend. Try getting up and chatting with a colleague. Whichever alternative actually satisfies the craving points to the real reward. Step 4. Design a new routine. Now you know your cue and your real reward. Design a new routine that is triggered by the same cue and delivers the same reward, but is healthier, more useful, or better aligned with your goals. Write it down. Make it specific. Not, "I'll exercise more." Instead, "When I feel the afternoon slump around 3 p.m., I will walk to the end of the street and back." The cue is the 3 p.m. slump. The routine is the walk. The reward is the physical reset and change of environment. Step 5. Protect your willpower. Remember, willpower is depleted by use. Don't put your hardest habit changes at the end of your day, when your reserves are lowest. Put them in the morning when willpower is freshest. Design your environment to reduce temptation. Because resisting temptation uses willpower, and every bit you spend means less is available for other challenges. Step 6. Create a community. Find at least one other person who is working on similar changes. An accountability partner, a support group, a coach, a friend. Belief and community are the fuel that keeps habits running when motivation fails and circumstances get hard. Don't try to do this alone. Step 7. Anticipate setbacks with pre-made plans. You will face moments of stress, temptation, or crisis. The question isn't whether you'll face them, it's whether you'll have a plan when you do. Write down the situations most likely to derail you and decide in advance how you'll respond. Encode those responses as habits before the crisis arrives.